Hi, CAD II. Tonight for homework, you're going to finish your fifth garment pattern. So, completely production ready, seam allowance, notches, everything, all pretty and screenshotted for me. I just have to tie up a few loose ends here. One way I'm going to do that is by posting a couple videos where this really great woman has explained how to grade in Illustrator. So she offers two options. In one of them, you click each point and you move it the specific amount that we determined, and in another option you actually slice the patterns like we did when we were adding fullness to the patterns, and spreads it and grades apart that way like you would if you were grading a paper pattern with like cutting. So let me know. You don't have to do that. Let me know what you think of them. Which option would you prefer? But I'm not requiring you to do any grading for this term. We will address it again next term. The grading worksheet I gave you mostly relates to Gerber pattern design, or at least that is the kind of grading that Gerber pattern design accepts. So there's probably going to be other ways that are easier for you depending on how you've learned in the past and then how you start grading in the future. So it was just a great opportunity to review that. So watch her videos, and then we are going to just intro this product I found, CLO or CLO software, and people are saying that this is actually better than Gerber, and it certainly looks better and easier to use from what I've been clicking around in it. So I just wanted to show you the software. I've just downloaded it today, so I'm still really new to it. It took me a while to get it happily running on my computer, but I figured it out and it seems to be running pretty well now. So let's check it out. So this is the website clo3d.com, and I was able to get a 30-day trial download just to play around with it, and this might be a great option for you. You can get a student discount, so instead of $50 a month, it would be $25 a month. They will give you 50% off, and you can cancel anytime. So even if you just subscribed for the summer and played around with it, and then maybe this is something we integrate into our curriculum. I'm not sure. Um, but let me launch the software. So on the left, we have our library and our history. So we could go back through any moves we've made in this project so far. But the first thing I'm going to do is actually add an avatar to this page. So on the left of these two screens in this layout, on the left, um, we are going to be able to see a 3D rendering of the garment we design, and on the right we will see the pattern of the garment. So I'm going to double click on avatar, and all of these came with the program automatically. Some of them I had to download by clicking this little download button, and it kind of downloaded everything I needed. Um, and I'm going to use female version 2, and I'm double click to add her to the page. And then let's try out some different poses on her just for fun. It's interesting that all we have to do is go into the pose folder, and we can double click on the different poses and hit OK, and she will adjust her body to these different poses. So let's stick with the standard one for the moment. So all of these folders are saved in your C drive, in like a public drive in your C drive. And This should include some two garments. Mine came with two. I guess the file type is ZPack. Interesting. It hasn't given me this warning in a little while, so it's funny. I thought I had fixed that, but here we have, you can see all the stitch lines and the basic t-shirt, and over here you can see the basic block or pattern of the t-shirt. And if we hit simulate up here, you can also go to 3D garment simulate, and it will sew those lines essentially and put them on the person and simulate that. So let's try changing her pose now. I'm interested. So we go to avatar and then we choose female V2 and we change the pose. Maybe we have to stop the simulation and change the pose. Very impressed. Gerber's simulation is very clunky compared to this. This worked really seamlessly, and changing the pose is nice and easy here. Let's try bringing our own pattern in and getting a garment on her. So to get this prepped, in order to open it up in CLO, we are going to remove all of the labels on here, and we're also going to make sure that all of them are on an artboard or touching an artboard. And we're going to do that using the artboard tool, and I'll actually adjust the size of this, and we will arrange them all on the artboard. And this will ensure that these import into CLO. CLO can open it can open Illustrator and PDF files, so that's kind of the best option for us. I'm also going to remove any of these extra lines, but I think you would be able to leave notches on there. I'm just being extra cautious here with what I'm bringing in because I'm not familiar with what the program can handle at this point. So I'm going to save this. And actually I'm also going to check my units. I'm not sure. They're in inches, but it seemed like CLO is set to millimeters, or it was more interested in millimeters. Anyway, it did seem to bring in my test example pretty well. So I'm going to go to File, New, and then we are going to go to File, Import/Add, Adobe AI/PDF. And when I choose auto scale, or when I uncheck it, it seems to say like 100% is in the millimeter option, and it jumps up when we put it in the inches option. So I'm sticking at the millimeter option, and we want to add it to essentially the model or the project we're working on. And we are going to hit OK. So we only have one side of this, so we need to make the other side, and we are going to flip these and arrange them before we apply them to the body. So I'm going to arrange these I'm using my center click to adjust the panning, and I'm going to close my history that I opened over here. And this is actually the back, and this is the front. So these are, I think, arranged pretty nicely right now. And we are going to select all of them and right click on them and choose symmetric pattern with sewing. And what this is going to do is it's going to reduce the amount of sewing that we have to do later. So we only have one side that we are going to have to virtually sew. Pop that there. So here we have the front and the back on either side. And some extra pattern pieces appeared here. I'm not sure why we have some extra guys. I see. Those are the extra back pattern pieces there, and they're all arranged in a line over here. So now that we have both sides, let's get some arrangement points on here. So we turn on arrangement points in the avatar viewpoint here. It's the second one in show arrangement points. And with the object or with the pattern piece that we want selected, let me zoom in. This is the back. So it's applying this arrangement point to both of them at the same time, notice. And we just need to find a spot where we think it looks pretty good. And it should automatically apply. I think I accidentally clicked her and not the arrangement point. There we go. So you got to click on the blue dot. And this obviously isn't perfectly hitting her waist, but you can move up and down and finesse the adjustment. Maybe. I should have selected them both at the same time before I adjusted that. So I am going to step backwards here. I'm actually going to turn those off for a second. And there we go. And now with the move tool, there's a move tool for the avatar side and there's a move tool for the 2D pattern side. I'm going to hold shift and select both of them and then drag downwards. And when we start simulating after we've sewn, we won't have to worry much about the fact that it's clipping through her right here. So let's apply the rest of those arrangement points. So turn on the arrangement points, but I'm going to select the front skirt first. Turn on the arrangement points. Click to align the points. We can select both sides and adjust. And let's do the top. There we go. And the back. There we go. The skirt. The sleeve. Beautiful. So now the next step is to sew. We do this with either free sewing or segment sewing. Let me shut off the display right now, and let's sew the front skirt to the back skirt, and it might even be easiest to do that in this viewpoint. The sewing seems to work in both viewpoints pretty well. So I'm going to click on segment sewing first, and this is going to allow you to choose line segments and sew them together. And something that you want to notice is that it will put a notch at either the beginning or the end of the like the top or the bottom or the left and the right of the line, and we want those to line up. So like if you're going to start sewing here and sew down to there, then you should click at the top for this one, and it should be the same up here. If you swap, if you have one at the top and one at the end, or one at the beginning and one at the end of the seam, it'll be like you're sewing them together backwards. So you want, in this particular instance, you want straight lines. It's not that if lines are crossing in here, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, but sometimes like we don't want things to get sewn and bunched up, which does happen. So with the notches, I just sew them together. Those are all pretty straightforward, and it should be, and actually you can see that things are sewing on both sides of the garment as I'm sewing, and I can do that on the visual side or on the pattern side, which is so cool. Um, so like I don't have to think too hard um, about sewing all this together. So let's try out free sewing. Um, so if we want to sew this side, which is made up of a bunch of segments, a bunch of different line segments, to this side, which we should be the same distance, we can do that with free sewing. So I can, sorry, I'm going to hit Control Z, click and drag along the seam and do the same on that side. And I'm actually not sure, I think I should have sewn those together first. I'm going to take a step back and segment sew these together. And again, I'm looking for the notches to be on the same side on their respective notch. And then let's try free sewing again. Still seems to be including those lines. All right, that worked pretty well. This is allowing me to line up these sides, but I'm wondering if I wouldn't be able to do that with segment sewing as well. So if I choose there, all right, see that's not acting the way I would expect it to act. So I do think that in this case, we're doing the right thing with the segment sewing, where I can choose like to do this segment, and then you can get an accurate reflection on this side of it. Click, 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 click. And we know that all of those are the correct length. It's kind of automatically snapping me there. Awesome. So let's do any last moments here. I have to sew the waistline together. I'll switch back to the segment sewing. Okay, and it's automatically doing both sides, so great. Okay, so for the shoulders and the armholes, we're going to have to use the free sewing option again. And actually, before I do that, let me sew the center seams together and the side seams. Just finish up this easy segment sewing stuff. Oops, I accidentally put two sewing lines there, and it's like, you don't have to do that. So now those are all sewn. This garment might be too big for her, we will see. And we are going to use free sewing tool up there and click and drag on that line segment and click and drag on this line segment. Oops, I went the wrong way. Click, click, dot click and drag, and then click, click, click. Click. All right. It is working, it's just giving me a hard time. Oh, I see. Double click to complete. There we go. So I wasn't double clicking. And then double click. And then it starts from this side. Click and double click. There we go. So we're going to hit simulate and see how this goes. I'm sure, sure it could go better than it does right now. Cool. So I forgot to sew her sleeves. That's why they look so funky. And it looks like maybe the waist is too tight on her. But let's take a step back and sew some sleeves together. So if we, probably the easiest to do this here. But now I can't see the seams as well because of how it is sewn, or it's already simulated. So I'm going to go to 3D Garment and choose Reset 3D Arrangement, and I believe that that tool is also up here. Reset 3D Arrangement. And there we go. And I'm going to start free sewing around the armhole. So we do a click, double click, and then on the arm, same thing, click, double click. Beautiful. So let's do the same thing for the back. I don't know how to see that super easily here. I bet there is a way to make some things transparent, but I'm still getting familiar 3D garment display, and I'm going to uncheck show garments, or Well, we can do it over here. I will click the back armhole and double click, and then on this side of the world, it's not letting me access. I do believe we can hide individual garment or pieces somewhere. I'm sure that rule exists. But I believe we should just be able to do it from here. So we know that that is the center bottom. So click and click. And there's nothing wrong with my armhole. It doesn't fit. So this is kind of what we can be testing for in here. And I'm sure I'll learn how to edit all of that using the 2D pattern manipulation tools up here eventually. So let's hit play. And now at least it is sewn to the garments. And there's all kinds of rendering we can do in here and animations. And one of the more interesting things I found is actually um, its modular section, which I'm still experimenting with, but consider playing around with this and letting me know what you think. There's all of these different ways that it's laid out, and we were just working on the first option there. So please let me know what you think. There's always the option of getting that free download and clicking around on here over the summer. Have a good week, guys. Bye.